This is supposed to be a professional event, but I feel like I should be doing a countdown. 7, 6. That's so good. All right. We are going to click a button and go. There we go. Awesome. I think hopefully we figured all this out. I'm going to try to get this countdown on the other side done. So in case I need the screen again. But Chris, we got you? I think we're good.
You got me. I'm good.
Awesome, man. Thanks for doing this, man. I appreciate it.
No, thanks for having me.
All right. So for those of you who have nothing going on in the middle of the day, in the busiest market that we've ever been, that are actually here live, thanks guys for being here. I appreciate it. With me, I've got Chris Medellin, who, Chris, you got some big shoes to fill, man. I've had 2 other guys help me with these in previous months, Mike Brennan from Movement Mortgage and Brandon Spooner from Guild. And I mean, they killed it. And I mean, I'm just kind of riding their coattails. I hope you got room in your coattails. That's all I'm going to say, because you got to step up, man. But
I might disappoint, but let's go.
So for those of you who don't know Chris, the first thing I got to say is make sure you follow him on every social platform that he participates
Please.
in. And Chris, when I'm done here, you tell him where to follow you. And the reason is, he's really leading our industry in education of how we can expose ourselves in personal brand and on social platforms to bring awareness to our communities and bring awareness to our referral partners and such. And so make sure you give him a follow. We're already getting comments, which is actually kind of cool, things like this.
Awesome.
Yeah, very cool. Tracy, yes, we do. So I'll make sure that after this, do me a favor, Tracy, just shoot me a DM on LinkedIn and we'll get it out. But Chris is a recently promoted, actually, I think, area manager with us at Loan Depot. And I'll admit, for those of you who are watching, I have grabbed leaders at other organizations because I don't want this to come across as a Loan Depot commercial. But when I thought about the subject that we're going to talk about, which is the prospecting stage in recruiting, the stage of introducing ourselves to new originators, Chris is so damn good at it that I could not pull him out, or not grab him for this event. And to kind of point of reference, in the last 12 months, and Chris, if I get any of these numbers wrong, tell me, you have hired 19 originators that in a 12-month run are going to drop roughly have dropped about $270 million worth of production into your business.
Yes.
Keep that in mind, guys. That's a 12-month run. Meaning if he hired somebody 4 months ago, that volume hasn't had a full maturation of hit to his branches in the area's performance. So there is very few leaders around the country that are better than Chris at recruiting. And Chris, man, I appreciate it. You're going to help a ton of people with us.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that.
So where should people, by the way, follow you? Like what platforms do you hang out in?
So I'm on Facebook, and you can just search my name there. I'm also on LinkedIn. I'm also on Twitter, and I'm also on Instagram.
All right. So you know what, later, I was about to jump into the Twitter thing, but we'll do that later. So because people are here for strategies and tactics on recruiting, let's just jump into it and get going. And so again, guys, when we're talking about the prospecting stage, the last call that we did with Mike Brennan, we were talking about the meeting stage within recruiting, which means the stage where candidates are meeting you. They're actively engaged. The prospecting stage for me is the most important stage in recruiting. And I'm gonna, I think, prove that, to those of you, watching this. But I'm going to start with asking this question and see how Chris frames it. Chris, if you're a branch manager, what is, in your opinion, is the number one goal for a branch manager in any market at any mortgage bank around the country? What is their number one goal in this business?
Well, it's kind of split up into a few phases, but I think it all routes into one. But ideally, every branch manager has to offer an LO an insane amount of value. And I think for every LO, it's different. So it's either through business development, it's through business planning. And for me, a lot of that's business planning. It's growing, it's helping them build their team. And then a lot of that is recruiting and going out and finding new talent. And then the last piece is making sure that you're offering enough value for the people to stay with you over, a long period of time. Okay.
Can I disagree with you? Is that okay? Like, are we allowed to disagree in the beginning?
Right here, yeah. I want you to.
So I disagree. I think the number one goal of a branch manager, and this is going to be very cold. This is not even who I am, like on social. Like I'm like the touchy-feely, love every guy. The number one goal is market share. That is it. Like if you were the CEO of a mortgage bank, you are a national sales leader, and you are investing lease, you're investing resources, you are looking at market share. And the reason why I say that is what you described is like vital. Like that is what makes people work for you, but that's what you do. Like the are you a sports guy or are you a music guy?
Music guy.
Music guy. All right. Everyone's one or the other. Like you fit in one category. All right. So if you're a music guy, if you're a band or you're a singer, what you do is you pump out good music. Right? Good lyrics, tones, tunes, whatever it is. But that's not going to pay your bills. Like what's going to pay your bills and what your ultimate goal is to get an audience, to get people to buy your music, to come to your concerts, to fill the arenas so you can continue to do what you want to do. Now, to do that, you've got to be good at what you do, which is playing music, right? As a branch manager, the goal is market share, in my opinion. And what you do, leading other people, having a value proposition, coaching them, that's how you succeed. If you would have gone, I'm a sports guy, my example would have been, it's like being a good coach, but you don't recruit, right? Like if you're in college, if you're Nick Saban and you don't go recruit athletes, it doesn't matter how good of a coach you are, your team's not going to be great because talent's not going to come your way and you're not going to be able to expose, your coaching skills, if that makes sense. And so I'm going to prove it, I think, if I can get this picture up and why I believe in prospecting so much. I'm going to give you a little pop quiz and you tell me, and I'm going to zoom in on this so people can see. So you tell me, I've got 4 producers, Chris. All right. Yeah. Producer All right. Producer A. They call 2 realtors a week, but they are an A+ originator. Like they structure deals, they live up to everything they say, but they only call 2 realtors a week.
Yeah.
All right. You got producer B. They're nuts on social. Like they've got posts going out all over the place. It's good content. Again, they're just nuts in it, and they're an A player originator. Producer C, they're doing flyer marketing, email marketing, whatever tchotchke thing that we can think of. They do it, and again, they're an A+ originator. And then you got originator D. They sometimes missed a text message. They aren't great at loan structuring, but they are prospecting realtors 40 times a week. Which originator in this does more business?
I feel like this is
it's totally a setup.
But I'm going to go with producer B.
No way. Producer B? Okay. All right. That's so the wrong answer. So I'm going to say producer D, and I'm going to prove it. All right.
I don't like where this is going. Like everything I say so far has been wrong.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's how good of a recruiting leader I am. All right. So I'm going to prove it. All right. You do social, like you're all over the place, like your podcast, your video. Okay. You've hired 19 people in the last 12 months.
Yep.
How many of those people began the recruiting process by reaching back out on one of your social posts?
0.
I'm sorry?
0.
Okay, the answer was 0. Okay.
Yeah.
How many of those people started because you are a maniacal prospector in calling people every week?
Yeah, well, that's that, and I have a really good recruiter who makes calls like crazy too. But yes,
Joe Taylor. Shout out to Joe Taylor. He's a stud.
Yes.
But
it's not because of my social.
It's not because of your. It's not because of your social. So point to it is we talk about. Now I got to figure out how to get this back over here. So we talk about a manager's job, right? And a manager's job is to build market share. And what we do is the social post. We coach people this and that. But really, if we're going to grow our business, we're going to be successful at recruiting. We've got to focus on market share. And the quickest way to actually get market share, or like a loan officer, the quickest way for them to do volume is we've got to prospect, right? And so that's why we're focusing on this. So that's awesome that we got both of those wrong. So that was good. So to start, guys, for those of you who are watching this, and I warned Chris, I was like, this is like my wheelhouse. This is my subject matter. So I'm probably going to babble too much in the beginning and before I turn it over to him with questions. If you as a leader are not at a minimum calling 10 recruits a week, there's nothing else you need to watch on this live stream. Like, and I hate to say, for the minimal people that are probably watching this, I hate to get people to not watch this, but you don't need to do anything else. Like when we go on social posts and we go to these meetings and these coaching sessions, we hear about market in this way. And as Chris does, post on social and all that other fun stuff. But the quickest way to achieve success in recruiting is simply start to call people. Now, once you get that as habit, and once you start calling people at a rhythm where every single week, if you don't call 10 a week, you feel like, oh my God, I failed myself. Then you can begin to layer in the other stuff that we're going to talk about. Because Chris, you do social for a reason, right? Even though those 19 people didn't originate from it, what's been the impact on your prospecting calls and your other recruiting stuff now that you've begun to engage into social media?
Well, I've talked about this a lot, so I feel like I'm repeating something, but there's probably a lot of people who don't know who I am. So hopefully that helps. But
you're kind of a big deal. A man with rich mahogany, so everyone knows you.
Yeah, exactly. So no, but here's the thing, right? If I go back to, I absolutely hate cold calling. I don't like doing it. It's not my thing. I actually did a post about cold calling and how much it sucked. But at the end of the day, it's a necessary evil if you want to get appointments and you want to help loan officers grow their business, right? It's an absolute necessity. So I had to get into the video game and I had to get into the social media game in order to have some sort of familiarity with me before I call somebody. So my goal was to post more than anyone in my market or in the markets that I'm in. I want to be that's in the position that I'm in, that I'm posting more than anybody, so that when I finally muster up the courage to call somebody, that they're kind of like, oh, I kind of know that guy, right? And they're more willing. And a quick funny story, like I've been upping my comment game on a few LOs, and I've been targeting them and just commenting on everything that they do. And I became a top fan of one of them. Her name is Jamie Massey. I hope you're watching this, Jamie. Anyway, I became her top fan, and she's at a different company. And I finally reached out to her. I finally got the courage to call her. And I said, hey, I've been trying to get a hold of you. And she was like, you've never called me. And I had never called her. And I was just like, I completely, because I had just really zeroed in on the social media stuff, that I never made the call. But when I called, it was like we had been friends for so long because we had been commenting. And so that's really why the social media piece for me is, so important. But I do agree with you that no one's ever reached out to me and said, I love your social media. Can I come and work for you?
Yeah. But what I did do is, when you as a recruiter, and we'll just say, in case Jamie is watching and her bosses are watching, she's never engaged with you, never going to meet with you. Nothing's going to happen.
No,
she's never going to come join you.
Yeah.
But it made the recruiting call easier and more successful.
Without a doubt. And it made it so much easier for me to kind of engage, because for me, it's a mental game. And I don't know if this is for everybody, but we talk about call reluctance all the time. And, that phone is so hard to pick up. And you and I before were just talking, and I'm like, I can't leave today unless I have 3 appointments. And I'm not getting those from social media. I'm getting those because I got to pick up the phone and call.
Yeah. And that's why whenever I talk about prospecting, it's such an odd subject, because especially like events like this, like I want to come on and like blow people's minds with these unique ideas and concepts. But if I talk about that first, and we don't talk about what the raw thing that we need to do is first, then I'm misleading everybody.
Yeah. Start
picking up the damn phone. Don't worry about a CRM system.
Yeah.
Don't worry about marketing stuff. Don't worry about any of that. It's kind of like, okay, so my wife, thank God, is amazing at like building things, at the house. Like she's, I don't know how to use a tool to save my life. And it'd be like, I want to begin to go, I'm going to be a carpenter. And before I actually start to try to build something, I go down to Home Depot and I buy like a power saw and an air gun and a sander. I don't even know how the hell to use them or where I should be using. Like the first thing to do if you want to build something is go try to build it. And then you can get the tools that will match your needs, right? And recruiting is the very same way. If you just begin to prospect, eventually, because we're all entrepreneurs, we're going to be able to say, well, I want to do this faster, or I want to be able to market in this way. And so then you go and grab the tools to plug in. Like for you were just saying, Shane, I knew I needed to do insane prospecting, right? I need to call a lot of people, but you'd called it, call reluctance. So you needed a way to warm up your calls. Social media is one of your ways. right? And that became a tool that is making you more successful at the raw behavior. Insane prospecting, is the way I'll put it. So since we kind of jumped into this, I'll actually talk about this. So you had said you got to get 3 appointments. You're not leaving until you get it. How many calls a week are you usually making right now as a manager, who's hired 19 people in the last 12 months?
If I'm lucky, 3 calls for 3
calls a week.
If I need to get 3 appointments for next week, if I'm lucky, I'll get 3 calls. And by the way, it's happened before.
Well played.
No, I mean, that's not the case. And I try not to look at it that way. I try to look at, I've looked at it 2 ways, and I have all these hacks in my brain on how to do it. Right. So it's like, can't leave unless I get my 3 appointments. I don't care how many calls it takes. So sometimes it could be 30 calls because I can't get anybody on the phone. And then I also play this other game in my head of how many no's I can get. So let me get, 10 no's today, because I know in those no's there will be yeses. And so all those little tricks before I start picking up the phone is really what it is. But it could be 30, it could be 10. And some days I'm really lucky and I get 3 for 3. But I try not to look at it the number of calls. It's just I have to leave with appointments. And, it's very similar to an LO. An LO should be looking at how many credit pulls they're getting for the week. Because if they're getting the credit pulls, they're doing the activities to generate the credit pulls. And for me, that's the number of calls and appointments that I'm booking is equivalent to the credit pull.
If you had to average, how many calls a week does it usually take to get to your appointment goal? So people can have an understanding, of what they're building towards.
No more than 10 to 15. I mean, honestly, like if I'm looking at it, I'm not spending an entire amount of time hitting the phones. I got, like I said, I will probably wait till about 4 or 5 because I think it's weird to call after 5. So between 4 and 5, I will make every excuse not to make phone calls. And then I'll start hitting the phone to get it. And it's usually about an hour, to a week that I'm spending actually prospecting.
Now for you managers, I've just said that are watching this, just start, right? Just start. There's actually a line that got used internally on something else. So just start the process. But keep in mind, Chris is greasing his tracks a little bit, and I know of some of the other stuff he'll do that he does that you guys really want to listen to that I'll ask in a second. But he is doing the social media stuff, right? And so when he calls originators, they know who he is, they know what he stands for, what he believes in, and so that is going to make him a little bit more successful, and as well as some of the other stuff he does. So when he says he's making 10 to 15 to get to 3, your 10 to 15 might get to 1 or 2. But here's the thing to ask yourself. Out of the last 52 weeks of a year, how many weeks have you had 1 first appointment every single week? It's not that not many of us have, that I've seen from managers that have that. And so start small. Don't start audacious, but just start. So Chris, you talk about your dials. How do you set your week up? Because I know with everything you have, being in the role that you're in, if you had to just okay, who do I call? It'd be a mess. Right. So how do you structure your week? How do you get prepared, for this? I'm
laughing at Chris Morgan with this comment here.
Yeah. I'm going to throw it on the screen for you. See, everyone talks about the hair that's up top. I like the facial hair. That does it for me.
Thank you very much. I got to give Chris a shout out because I'm actually here because he got through to me when I was at a different company.
That's awesome.
So shout out to Chris.
Thank you, Chris.
Yeah,
Morgan.
I'll stop calling my people, Chris. So what was your question? I got so distracted. What was your question?
How do you prep for your week? How do you make it efficient? So when you're ready to sit down and dial from 4 to 5,
all right, I'm going to go a little different direction than probably what you're asking, but I'm going to give it another hack.
Go for it.
So like an LO, we all hate to prospect. And so one of the things that I do is I want to start hanging out with the people that already know me and like me. So I will call people that are my friends at other companies to just get conversations going. I know they may not make a move because they are, whatever the reason, they love the company they're with. And so I'll start with that just to get conversations going. I want to start with the people I know because you never know who you're going to convert. Yep. And then the second thing that I do is I have a list. So I know my market. And I make it my thing to know who's in my market and who I want to work with. And so I will start then reaching out to people that I have a list of that I want to hit. So I have a list of about 100 LOs within each market that I'm managing or that I'm working, right, that I'm trying to grow. And so each day I'm trying to figure out, who am I going after in this? And then it's just dialing. And I try really hard not to really focus on the person. I'm blind, like a next name on the list, I got to just call.
Love that.
And I have done this before. I'm going to tell you a quick story, but there was an individual who was like a $40 million producer that I worked with at Wells Fargo. And I'm like, I'm never going to call her, because she's been at Wells for years. She's not going to leave Wells. I started building a narrative in my head about this individual, and she just made a move to a non-bank lender. And all I had to do was call, right? And really talk. And I'm not saying I would have gotten her, but I created a narrative in my head about that name, and I should have just blindly called. So it's really all those little things that I try to do, but I have to set up my week. I have a list, and I know I'm just going to go through that list and just keep hitting people. One of the other things that I do is, as soon as I get a new person that I've connected with that I didn't know yesterday, and now we've had a conversation, they're now in pipeline, in my opinion. Unless they tell me never to call them again, they're now somebody that goes on my whiteboard here, and I'm now going to keep working that person, because I now have a new connection that I didn't have yesterday. And so I'm just trying to grow that pipeline of people that I know.
So the two follow-ups I have is the narrative that you mentioned that you create in your head. The most dangerous recruiter and the most dangerous manager is the person who thinks they know everybody and knows everything about everybody. Yeah. I know that because, when I was, really kind of coming up through the recruiting ranks, we would end up hiring other recruiters to support some of the territory that I'd have to give up because, just as roles change. And inevitably, like, I'd see these people farm out. Oh, hey, I got Joe Blow over at such and such interested in talking. Like, how the hell did you do that? Yeah. And the reason is they just picked up the phone and called.
That's it.
And in my head, I was convinced that Joe Blow would never want to talk to me. And it happens all the freaking time.
Yep.
And so I love the fact that what you've done is you've kind of created. And by the way, guys, coincidentally, actually, is he said 100 names. That's my recommendation. Find 100 names right now. So you can make 10 dials every single week for 10 weeks. But you don't overthink the list. You're just kind of working your way down, so you don't allow yourself to create your own narrative that will eventually create failure. That's good.
I'm not perfect by any means, but it definitely happens. And case in point, but I think that I think you got to start with a list. And I think you got to just, if you make 100 calls to 100 people, you will know people that you didn't know yesterday.
Yeah.
Even if you're converting at, a 1%.
And to confirm, just because I know we're talking about prospecting, but let's say that you were systemic and you went through all 100. Do you then go back to the top and work your way back down for the most part?
If I work all 100 the way that I want to work them, I got hires, and I've never even thought about that.
So let me put it this way. Okay, so you've got 93 left because you didn't hire 100 in the 2 months it takes you. Do you run through the list again?
Eventually I go back through it. I'm like, and it's one of those things. But again, I start with, but now I have a pipeline of people that didn't start, but they're still talking to me and they're not telling me to pound sand.
Yeah.
So now I got this pipeline that I didn't have yesterday.
Yeah.
And so that, of the 93 that I didn't hire, there's, 10 more that I'm now talking to. And those are the ones I hit first. And I'm engaging on social media.
Yeah.
Trying to get to know them a little bit better. And then, then the rest I'm hitting when I get back around to getting my appointments.
So let's say I'm a new person that hits your list. So we connect on social. You're like, hey, Shane, I didn't know that he was an originator here. What's your sequence? How am I going to hear from Chris? Is it just out of left field a call? Hopefully, obviously, I'm seeing you on social. But what's your sequence? Because I know you're very structured in this, and people will get some benefit from it. What's your sequence of contact?
Yeah, well, I'm sequenced, and again, it's a hack because I hate the cold call, right? So I start with, I get my 100 list. Then I go through and LinkedIn and Facebook friend everybody. I research them. And then I kind of decide who do I really want to work with based on what their social media and what their LinkedIn says. And then I now kind of have it whittled down, and then I send them a text message, a video text message like, hey, my name's Chris. You're in my market. You're crushing it. We're crushing it. And I would love to meet you. So let's get together, right? I'm going to call you next week, or I'm going to call you tomorrow at 9. And I hope that you'd be willing to take my call. And so if not, keep crushing. You're doing a great job. We'll talk soon, right? Yeah. And so hopefully they've said, okay, this guy friended me. He's made a few comments on my post. We're now friends on Facebook, and now he's calling me, and now I got this voicemail or this video text. So my conversion, all of this is psychological because I believe that my conversion's far higher when I do it that way. Yeah. Because now they kind of know me. They've seen my social media. They see what we're doing with my team. They see that maybe we're doing things that their managers aren't doing. They see a little bit of glimpse inside the culture of our company when I post it on social media. So I'm hoping that all those things increase my conversion. And I believe that it has.
Now, to recap, so everyone hears it. What Chris is saying is he starts on social. He'll connect. He'll comment on their posts if they're active on social media, whichever platform, before he calls them. And this is a confidence builder for Chris. It's sales 101. If you're confident, you will connect better. That's just the nature of the beast. So before he actually dials the person, you're shooting a personalized video saying, hey Bob, it's Chris. What's going on? Da, 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 da. And you're sending that over text message. So you're sending a personalized video introduction.
Yep.
How many days after you send that do you wait to call them typically?
Well, so I do have a little bit of a process on this that I work with here. So I try to get like 10 of those out in a week. Okay. And then for the next week to make my calls. So, interesting. And I say this, I'm calling you next week in hopes that you'll take the meeting. So I have to. So there's another kind of hack that forces me to make the call. Right? So it's all these brain tricks that I'm doing in order to make the call. Yeah. We got a question here. Hold on one second, Sandy.
Oh, look at this.
So Sandy, I'll tell you. I just honestly with LinkedIn, I wish I was a lot better with sending a personalized message when I meet somebody, but I'm just looking for the connection. Because then I go over to Facebook and really try to get them on Facebook as well. So I'm not sending a personalized note when I ask to do that invite on LinkedIn. I'm hoping that they just accept it.
I will say, Sandy, and you and I have obviously talked offline, where I do use personalized notes on LinkedIn, and I don't want to steal any thunder, Chris, if we're because we're going to talk about a narrative where they don't call you back, but. For key people, key candidates, if I try reaching out to them in the prospecting stage to introduce myself, I'll take the time to shoot a personalized video, explain to them why they matter to me, why they're important to me. And I will send them that through LinkedIn. And so if we're connected, it's just a message. If we're not connected, that will be, because I'm not as good as Chris, just call it what it is. So I don't make sure I'm pre-connected with everybody. So if I'm not connected, that will be in my, hey, let's connect. Here's a video of why I was calling you. And I'll say the feedback from that is been really good, because my messaging in those videos are not, hey, I really want to talk to you and tell you why your company sucks and we're so good. It's more, I really wanted to get introduced because you look like-minded, you look amazing, and we should just know who each other are. And the feedback on that has been great. So, but Chris, so thanks for pulling that in. And then I'm going to pull a comment because we've got Tracy who's kind of reiterating that she follows somewhat of your narrative, but going back to it, you send a video text message, you call them the next week. So you've created accountability for yourself. Is it one dial and done? What's your process there?
Well, no, I mean, if I found them on LinkedIn and Facebook and we've now connected and we're engaging and they're seeing that I'm engaging with them, and I leave that call and I've called them, left the voicemail, called them again. Usually I'll send another text and like, hey, okay, this is going to be the last time, but I just want to meet you. I'm not trying to hardcore recruit. What I'm trying to do is get to know every loan officer in the market. And I just want to get to know you, because if something changes in your market or something changes in your business, I want to be the first call that you're going to make. But I don't and this is a true story. I don't really expect that the phone call I make today is going to result into a hire tomorrow. It's years sometimes that I hire somebody. But if I don't make a call today, I have no hires for the next few months. So everything is predicated on what I do. It's very similar to an LO pulling credit. If I have no credits today, I have no pipeline for next month.
The two comments you made there that for me stand out, are one, what you just said. Like anytime I look back at our hire numbers, if they dip down, it is always directly correlated to how many appointments we have. Mm-hmm. Like it's again, I want to get super sexy when I'm managing recruiters and managing managers, and did you do this out of the box thing? And it literally comes down to how many dials did you make and how many meetings did you have?
Well, this is interesting because this is a really good conversation, because I think that you're on the tip of just make the call.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But I I got to make the calls and I hate making the calls. So here are all the little things that I got to do.
And you've greased your tracks, right? The social, the accountable. Yeah. And the other comment that you made, though, and this is for managers to understand why prospecting calls from me matter more than the social media posts and matter more than the mass communication, which, by the way, guys, all matter. I'm not a PowerPoint guy, but I'm actually going to do a little slide if we get to that narrative. Is there's only so many originators in your market that are hireable. It's a finite number. Right? It's not like loan office or clients, I should say, where, well, look at your window. There's a million of them that you can do a mortgage for, right? There's a finite amount. And because you know it's that finite amount, put them in a box. I don't need LinkedIn to be the middleman to get my messaging out. I don't need a snail mail to be my middleman. I can just pick up the goddamn phone and say hi, and that's why prospecting matters. Is it's not this never ending beast. You can slay this dragon. You can talk to every single person in your market and then use those other tactics to increase your conversion of success and build your brand. Prospecting calls matters. And again, people can look at your profile online. And this is the other reason why I really like this conversation, and get confused about what your secret to success is, Chris. Because if they don't know the behind the scenes work that you put in, if they don't know how many dials you're making and how many outreaches and personal videos that you're doing, they can fool themselves into thinking, oh, I can just mimic Chris on social media and away I grow. That was pretty good. Away I grow. Really that was bad. But it really is the behind the scenes work that you do that drives your success. So that's awesome. All right. And so it's multiple calls. I like it. Once you go through that 100, let's say that you've called everybody. Do you group your candidates, your pipeline, your stay in touch mechanisms, or is it just, I'm not going to overthink it, Shane. I'm just going to run through the list and continue.
I make a mental note of a few things. Number one, kind of like an LO with their realtors, right? A, B, and C. Who's told me to pound sand, and I got to come back to those guys because maybe they're going to have a different answer for me. I've been told a number of times, like, man, you are relentless. You have not given up on me.
Yeah.
And then, then there's the people that I'm just talking to, like I'm just checking in. How are you doing? How are things coming along? I liked what you posted here, just kind of having a conversation. So I do group them in that. And then I have the guys that are my friends that, I know in the industry that I want to talk to, that I want to hear what's going on. Like, we're in a weird market right now. And so what's kind of also strange is we all tend to not want to talk to each other about what's going on in each other's companies. And I think that's such a weird dynamic that I've really reached out and said, let's just compare notes. Like, what are you guys doing with Govies? What are you doing with Bond? What are you doing with pricing? Let's price a few deals out together. And honestly, that's what I tell a lot of recruits. Like, if something gets wonky with your pricing, call me and let's just run some scenarios because maybe it's wonky at my place too. I just want to, have a conversation and let's have more, more interaction from a comparing notes perspective than not having that interaction. I think it makes people far stronger.
And you've just pivoted into a good space because, okay, great. I went through my sequence. Social connection, video, personal introduction, go through my call sequence, send a video follow-up. Does that sound pretty much on how you start relationships with recruits?
Yes.
But once you burn through that, what do I say? They've already said no. And so many leaders get caught up in I'm just catching up. And that's it. Like there's no value to the relationship. Like legitimately, it's like saying, opening the door and going, hey, are you ready to make a move today? Okay, no. And then shutting it.
Yeah.
Well, that's not a relationship. You didn't have value.
I have a little tactic that I've used, and it's kind of helped me. So I have done like a series of business planning videos and they're on like YouTube somewhere. But what I've told LOs, and I do mean this because I really love helping LOs grow. Like, hey, I just want to be in a room with you because a lot of times there's an interest there in just who they are as a person, and I want to see them grow. And I've said this, I don't even care if we work together, but I would love to get in a room with you and just talk about how you're doing it. And let me see if I can offer you some advice. And I'm very picky and selective on who I do that with. Yeah. But there are 2 or 3 LOs that don't work here that I talk to in my marketplace, and we just share ideas. And there's no other reason than I'm hoping that eventually they see enough value in that they want to come and work here. Yeah. And so to me, that's kind of the approach that I'm taking with some of the people that aren't making the move just yet. But if you're likable and they're likable and you guys have something in common, then that call is pretty easy to do. But that's usually what I start off with, is trying to hit those people that I've already established some sort of a relationship with.
What other general tactics do you use? Because I like that vein. That's a big thing for me. Surrogate leadership. Add value to them before they work for you. Do you have any other kind of tactics that handle the entire population? Like, we internally at Loan Depot, right? We're sending out tips and thoughts and things like that. Do you use that in your recruiting?
I don't. I mean, honestly, I wish, you're launching some pretty cool stuff recently about things that LOs can do to really help them. And so I'm actually latching on to what you're doing, but from a CRM perspective, I am not prospecting via email whatsoever. And it's a miss on my part, primarily because with everything else that I'm doing, anything that takes me away from making a call at this point is really just an add-on, and I'm trying to be careful with that. So it's really just, I think I'm doing enough at this point just to get a call out. And every time I start to go down that path, I'm like, hey, is this too much work than started? So for what it's worth, I think it has value, but I think more value is just picking up the phone and calling.
Yeah, it's the thing I always warn people about. There's no idea that's bad, for the most part.
I agree. Yeah.
But it's a return on investment of time and effort. If doing something takes you 3 hours to do and you're not expecting any feedback, any positive returns, well, maybe it was an okay idea. Yeah, don't spend the time. It's not worth it. My suggestion is whatever you see, whether it's one of the internal tips, here or something on social, if it's something that can impact someone's business, and you can overdo it. I always suggest once a month, you can mass communicate. Hey guys, what's going on? Obviously, we'll be talking soon, but this just came across my desk. Thought you should check it out. And the reason why I say the mass communication over email is you would post that online. You'd go to social media, right? You'd go to, right. And the thing with that is if you post it on LinkedIn, you're hoping LinkedIn's algorithm will percolate that to the top of their feed, or Facebook's algorithm will post it at the top of their feed. Well, that's using a middleman. You have their email addresses. You have their phone numbers. You have a tool. Most of us at this point can mass comm an email, and it takes 5 to 10 minutes. And so if there's a message that is truly value add that you want to make sure everyone's eyes sees, take the extra 5 to 10 and go, hey guys, I just posted this online, crossed my desk, totally think it's going to help somebody on this. Don't hide behind the fact that it's mass comm. I think hopefully it helps one of you guys do 1 or 2 more deals better, right? I did that like a month ago with a video from Justin Perry where he's talking about appraisal waivers, and originators at other companies were like, damn, this is super helpful. And I got feedback from people saying, I just won a deal because of what you shared me. That was pretty cool, right? And so that's why I say the mass comm over email works if you have a system that lets you do in 5-10 minutes. If it takes you 3 hours, don't waste your time.
No, I totally agree.
Not worth it. Yeah, that's cool. All right, so the call, and actually, I want to ask this question. Let's say it's a candidate you really want to get the attention of. Like, I am not going to let this person say no. Have you done anything crazy that's worked out of the box besides just your regular rhythm?
All right, so there's like $150 million producer, and I want this guy. He is legit.
Don't mention the name. I don't want anyone else to know who the guy is.
I'm not going to mention the name. Yeah, sorry. And I mentioned the other name. We could bleep that out.
Yeah.
Everybody is watching this replay. But
yeah.
So I really wanted to get him. And again, a hack. I'm in my head because I'm a good coffee appointment. I'm not really good over the phone, in my opinion. At least that's what
you got a beautiful face. You got a face for in person. Go ahead.
I want to meet you. I want to, whatever. Yeah. And we're in, we're stay-at-home orders, right? So I had to figure out a way to get over that hump of setting appointments. And so I called it or texted him and said, hey, because we know each other. So I said, hey man, I want to talk to you. Would you do a virtual coffee meeting with me on Thursday at 9 a.m.? And he was like, yeah, I'll meet you at Cartel Coffee in Tempe. And I was like, like now what do I do, right? Because it's like do I just go over there, right? I'm gonna stay at home. This is not good, right? Yeah. I don't want to infect my family. And so I'm like, hey, I said virtual, can I just send you the coffee to your house before our meeting? And so I used one of these DoorDash places, and I had the coffee from Cartel sent to his doorstep. 5 minutes before the meeting. And then we did a meeting like this and it went amazing. In fact, I have another meeting with him tomorrow. So have I done something crazy? Yeah, I just, because I had to figure out how to get over the coffee meeting. And so then I called another $100 million producer. I'm not going to tell you his name. Yep. And I was like, hey, tomorrow, 9 a.m., I'll send the coffee to you. Are you down? Right? Just like that, because I know him and we've talked and he's turned me down a million times. And he was like, I got my own coffee machine, but I'll meet with you. And I was like, done. Like, he didn't take me up on it. So Braden Hatch, who works with me, I wasn't sure if he was going to come and work here or not. And so I kind of felt like our last meeting didn't go that well. So I sent him, I knew he was kind of an outdoorsy guy. So I sent him a hatchet, like a really nice hatchet.
Okay.
And I put a really nice note on it. It was packaged, it was like $150. And cause hatchet, so I sent a note on it and he was like, dude, that was one of the reasons why I called you back, because that was such a nice, thoughtful gift that you sent me. And, it was kind of cool and it was different. Like, why would anybody send me a hatchet? And I was like, I know that. So, so anyway, so those
you should have engraved your face on the hatchet. That would be the only thing to make it better.
I'm not that thoughtful, but I tried different things to get people's attention.
But the thing I'll say for those who are still watching this part is the key to the 2 texts that you did were the work you did ahead of it.
Without a doubt. Yeah.
Right. You can't say, coffee tomorrow, 9, you in? Yeah. If you've never spoken to the person before.
Well, so first off, I'll jump in because I cringed after I sent it because I said, I was like, I should have asked about his family. I haven't talked to him since COVID. Yeah. Like, I started second guessing everything because he took what felt like an hour to respond in 5 minutes. And I was like, oh man, he's done. He's like, dude, who's this Yahoo? Yeah. So no, I mean, he was really cool to say yes, but I should have probably done a million different things, but you're right.
You built up that credibility though. You built up that trust. That's what staying in touch over the long haul does, and then when you're in the prospecting stage, it allows you to do things that people who don't do that kind of stuff can't do. They just can't leverage those types of actions. All right. So I guess I want to talk about the first conversation just a little bit. You've kind of hinted at it already. And then we'll wrap this up. If you're making that first call, it's the first time. So you've sent the social connection, you sent them the introduction video, you pick up the phone. Hey, what's going on? It's Chris. Hey, Chris, what's going on, man? Mm-hmm. First, what's that first 120 seconds like? Because that's for a lot of people, that's the part that freaks people out. It's not the conversation. Yeah. It's what do I say in that first 120 seconds?
That's the hardest thing. For me, how do I figure out that 120 seconds? And what it was is, hey, I sent you last week. I hope you got it. And then they say, yeah, I did. That was kind of cool. Nobody's ever done that before. And then it went from there. Like, oh, well, tell me, how are things going? I just wanted to touch base. You and I hadn't met. You're in my market. So it was that, or, hey, I hit you up on Facebook, like in some cases I became your top fan. I'm just looking for something that, to your point, and I hadn't used that term, greasing, what did you say? Greasing the tracks. Yeah. Say the wheels. Greasing the tracks before I called so that I could reference something that I had done before the call to bring some familiarity with myself. So
nice.
So anyway, that's kind of that 120 seconds is the killer. And I was hoping to do something before then to reference.
So I'm going to give just a small tactic because I'm not going to turn this into a script. If you're watching this and like, what the hell do I say in the first 120? The thing that I always coach people to work on is what I call a bridge question. So whatever gibberish comes out of my mouth in the first 120, I always have the same exact question that leaps me from the introduction into a normal conversation. And reason why I say you create it and you script it is so you know what to do with the answer afterwards. Like, you can begin to get better at the response, and you don't have to think off the top of your head, what do I say now and how do I get into normal? Like, it's almost a trigger, Old school stuff is, do you ever keep your options open? Hey, do you ever talk to other mortgage banks? Do you ever, look to see if other platforms can add value? Like, whatever works for you, have a single question that launches you into that conversation talking about their business. you know, and if you can script that, you'll find getting away from the introduction is so much easier, because so many leaders, so many recruiters, they almost get lost in the intro. And then they're just swimming, you know, and because they're feeling like it's crazy because we don't have confidence, they just abort. Well, hey, okay, so call me if you're ever interested, you know, and then they run away. So work on a bridge question in that 120, and you'll find that it'll be easier for you to transition into the meat of the conversation. Last question in terms of the first conversation. When you're talking to that candidate in that first convo, are you the guy who tries to get all the information on the person? So talk to me. Where do you get your business from? How many core realtors? Why? You know, if you could add one thing, you know, do one more thing for your realtors, what would it be? What would be the impact? Market? Do you run down the gamut, or you say last and go for the appointment?
Appointment. Like, okay. I want a yes for the appointment, and I want to be on and off that call in seconds. Like, you know, hey, you know, I sent you that text. Are you open for a meeting next week, you know, at 9 o'clock, whatever? Yes. All right, bye. That meeting is all about me trying to find three things. Is what are their three things that are holding them back from hitting the goals that they want to hit? And can I help them with those three things? Yeah. Because if I can't help them, it doesn't make sense. If I can help them and there's chemistry, because it's all about chemistry, for me, you know, and I don't think that people make a move because of Loan Depot's name on the door. Honestly, I agree. I think they make a move because somebody in the organization they believe is going to add them enough value. And so what I'm trying to find out, is there a need, and is there a mechanism that I can help remove a barrier from their day-to-day to make them better? Love it. And, you know, a lot of cases is they don't know how to grow. They don't know how to scale. And if I can help them scale their business over the next year, does it make sense? Yeah. And how do I do that? So I'm looking for those three things. Love it. Love it. So your first conversation is short, sweet, establish that I'm a cool guy, leader that knows some things. Let's actually have a formal conversation, yeah. Setting the stage for a meeting that you don't need to grease the tracks as much because you've already done that. And now you're into it. And I talked about this with Mike Brennan. I always encourage leaders when you're in that first meeting, we won't go in depth because we're sticking in prospecting though, is train yourself to have a 3-step questioning process. The topic, what do you wish you did more of, or that your company did more of? What would the impact be? Mm-hmm. You know, so how do you market your past clients? What do you wish you did more of? How would that impact your business? Mm-hmm. You know, how many core realtors do you do business with? So on and so forth. And if you do that, you're going to uncover a lot, as you were saying, that then you as a leader can hopefully solution for them. So, yeah, man, this was really good. I appreciate you doing it. From what you thought you were going to get with this, did we miss anything on the subject of prospecting? No, I mean, what we're missing is I want to do this all with you, because you said something to me. We were at an event. I think we were in California for a branch manager meeting, and you said, you're going to see me dip away during this meeting to go make 10 calls. Yeah. Because I won't be able to relax the rest of the day if I don't make my 10 prospecting calls. Yeah. And you kind of, I don't think that you were doing that for any other reason than you were just talking to me. And then it really resonated with me, because I'm like, I need to be on that level. Like, I need it to bother me. It's unhealthy, dude. You don't want that. No, I know, but so I want to know, like, what do you say in those 10? Do you have it like written down? How do you know who you're calling? And then what do you say? I'm curious. So you can say my numbers, but we are one of the top organizations for recruiting because of what you're doing. So I'm curious to know what you say. Definitely not what I'm doing. Fortunately, I work with people like you and Joe Taylor in our recruiting department. But again, starting the process will, for me, create the tools that you need to surround yourself with to be more efficient. So do everything that you do faster, mm-hmm. and higher conversion. So do everything that you do better, right? Mm-hmm. When you do high volume recruiting, and you downplayed the CRM thing a little bit, because I know you have your CRM system. You just designed a way of extracting your CRM without you having to be a CRM expert. So for me, it's very CRM heavy, because I believe in the safety net theory. I cannot, love everybody who watches this and that I stay in touch with. I can't remember the stories of 2,000 to 3,000 people. Mm-hmm. I can't remember when I last spoke to somebody
within 2,000 to 3,000 people. So I needed a mechanism that made sure it doesn't go 3+ months without me talking to them. CRM, right? That's where tasks and lists and statuses and all that other stuff. The other thing, and the reason why I asked if you group your database a little bit, actually, I didn't think we'd actually have a use for this. I'm going to try to bring it up on the screen and see if I can do it. I don't follow my business exactly like this, but I view relationships I have in this way. So you mentioned that you do brand and social. I do brand and social. If you look at every hireable originator, in your case, it's 100 per market. For me, it's every originator in the country. This is going to touch every single one of them, right? Mm-hmm. So now I go up a layer in my relationship. I'm only one person. I'm not omnipresent. I can't call every hireable originator in the country. So if I've spoken to them and we didn't click, or for one reason or another, I can't put them into my, I'm going to call you every 2 or 3 month bucket. I'm still going to try to add value to them. And so on a monthly basis, communicate out some type of value added, whether it's a market update or something to help them do better business. So now I've got them with brand, and now I've got them with a mass communication. I go up a level. Now somebody I've spoken to that I want to stay in touch with, that I'm going to call every 2 to 3 months. The CRM definitely helps. As you had mentioned, Chris, you call them without fail. And I've just programmed myself that if I don't make these calls and I don't introduce myself, I feel like I failed. I'm different than you. You work till appointments. I don't have enough skill to do that because I might work throughout the night to get appointments. So I work to make a certain amount of contacts and just hope at the end of the week that I have the right thing going. Does that make sense? So with these people, I'm calling them every 2 to 3 months. Then I get in a meeting in the higher stage. Generally speaking, that's how I bucket it. And so if you're a hiring manager, having the brand, having the social, we're getting comments. This is awesome. Having, all of this allows you to multi-layer your approach, right? A brand, direct value add, and then direct relationship. So that's how I do it. And I've just been able to self-generate accountability, in my business.
Well, the reason I'm curious about it, and I want to get to the questions too, but the reason I ask is because I don't think I'm good on the phones, and your entire business model is to be on the phones.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So for me, I feel like I can learn a lot from the way that you're connecting, especially during a stay-at-home order.
Yeah, this is
how you're connecting with people on initial call.
This is this ridiculous. You ever see two guys, talking on this type of stuff, and you're good. No, you're good. You're great. You're great. This is what this has turned into because any leader that's still watching this, or we're getting comments, on this, and such. If they made 10 dials and got 3 appointments,
doesn't matter.
Dude, that's a home run.
Yeah,
it's a home run. So your conversion is good. So, from a metric perspective, I'm aiming to set five new appointments a week, as a leader. And if I can do that, I feel like I've done my job. But it's about establishing relationships, because what I can't control is the environment. I can't control the markets. Again, everybody's going to break a record. Go to social media on July 1st, broke another record in June. That has an impact. Right. But what I can't control is my behavior. And that's how I've trained myself. And when my numbers go down, again, you design the tool to accomplish the goal. Right. Mm-hmm. And so when my conversions go down, I blame nobody else but me. Yeah. And so then I just, like a freak, start talking to everyone I can. It's not working. What am I doing? And so I've been able to design things into my business to have higher conversions, similar to what you do. I don't really do the pre-text message. I do the post. I do like the comments on social. The numbers that we're doing are pretty similar. But the DNA strand that sounds like we both have is you've got to have that accountability to the activity.
Without a doubt. Yeah.
Right? Because that accountability to the activity will create the results. And if it doesn't in the beginning, who gives a crap? You'll get better. And if you don't get better, you will find hacks, like you to use your word, that will get you better results. So, yes. Stephanie, I think I gave a couple bridge questions. Again, they're kind of generic. I'm sorry, Chris, I'm answering a comment. It's awesome that she asked. Again, do you ever keep your options open? Do you ever talk to another mortgage bank? There's a line that I use before the bridge question that's almost kind of prepping me that I've used. And if I've never called you, and I do after this, and you're watching this, don't laugh at me for using a script. But the question that or the comment I'll say is, look, here's the deal. It took me a long time to figure out. If you don't know me, you're never going to call me. And so I at least had to make an introduction. Like, even if we don't go anywhere in this conversation, I needed you to know that I'm interested in chatting with you and would love to get to know you, because that increases my chances of talking to you when the time is right. By the way, do you ever keep your options open? So that'd be kind of an example of a bridge question. Thanks, Kimberly. I'm going to assume you mean Chris. I agree. He's awesome. So that's it, man. Anything else that we need to touch on? I mean, we ran for 55 minutes.
No, this was awesome. I enjoyed this. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. For those of you who watched, thank you so much. I will send a recording of this out in the next couple days. Always reach out to me. Again, connect with Chris on social and just follow him, guys. There's so much I've learned, from following him and tactics and techniques.
Thank you.
If you get nothing out of this, it's that and help make you better. So thanks, guys. Thanks, Chris. We'll talk.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.